So one of the most horrific things ever in the history of ever has to have been the surgeon's room during 19th century naval combat, where the screams of the dying and wounded rang out, and those who witnessed it often described it as a vision of hell. Before a battle began, the floor would be covered in sand, as once the blood from the wounded started running, as well as the rocking motion from the waves and cannon fire all above them, it would have been extremely difficult not to slip over. And when you need the steady hand of a surgeon, you didn't really want to be slipping over and slicing someone's bollocks off. Even by the time the Battle of Trafalgar rolled around in 1805, there was still no concept of hygiene and sterilisation. So once the surgery was done, a quick wipe of the surgeon's instruments on his lovely white coat would be enough for them to be used again on his next patient, only replacing them once they were blunt. Anaesthetic also wasn't invented until 1846, so if some poor sod needed his limb amputated, speed would be the key to success, as if the surgery took too long, the patient could go into deep shock as the saw cut through their bone, vibrating their whole body, which would likely kill them if the limb removal didn't already. If an amputation was required though, the patient would only get one swig of rum and brandy and a leather gag to bite down on, as the surgeon made one swift cut all the way through the flesh to their bone, with some being able to do this in one swift motion, but if you got a poor surgeon, you were probably absolutely in agony. And this whole limb amputation and stitch-up process could be done by some surgeons in just over 2 minutes, in probably what did seem like a lifetime to the patients though, and their remaining limbs would be collected and then chucked overboard. The surgeons did operate on a first-come, first-served basis, placing them under immense pressure to perform as fast as possible so they could get through their queue. And if you had half your brain hanging out, but 10 people in front of you had a tiny splinter or a broken nail, you'd still have to wait your turn. Which did cause some problems, as men often bled to death waiting for their turn on wounds which weren't even fatal and they just required a bit of treatment. And while most of the crew did know a bit of first aid bandaging and tourniquets, their first aid knowledge probably wasn't the best in the heat of a massive battle. And to make matters even worse, the surgeon's room would be situated on the all-up deck, the lowest possible deck where no natural light gets through, so all of this surgery and decisions of what to do to the patients would have to be done by candlelight. The dark confined space where the surgeon was hot and airless, and with the stench of the dying, the dead, the mangled flesh, all the blood not being ventilated properly, as well as all the screams of the dying and the dead, who can't scream, and all the cannonballs which are shaking all the ships above, it's no wonder this was described as hell.